You're dialed in to the Dawg Pound Podcast, your weekly shot of Cleveland Browns recaps, reactions, and rants with your hosts, Jon Drake and Chris Aiken.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 14 of the Dawg Pound Podcast. I am your host, Jon Drake. With me is Chris Aiken. And for the fourth time in 5 weeks, man, this is just getting better and better. Like you said, it's us.
It's all us.
Who cares who the coach is going to be as long as our podcast continues?
Well, that's
the Browns are going to be champions. It's going to be a dynasty.
I'm suggesting 3 years at about $18 million each for me and you.
This is going to be our cash cow.
Yeah, hopefully the Browns are listening. I think that's reasonable. 3 years, $18 million to get, this many wins more than last year. You can't even say X number of times because it's, a billion times or infinity times?
I agree. All we're asking is $3 million a year apiece, and you're going to have 3 consecutive world titles. Think about the revenue.
Yeah. In fact, you know what? I'll even let them not pay me until they make the playoffs, but then they can give me the $3 million.
Fair? I like that. I'll do the same.
That seems fair. That seems a fair offer to them. We're offering to produce before we're paid. Just pay us.
Man, we need to come up with a business plan ASAP.
Somehow I doubt they're going to listen to us.
Yeah, right.
Somehow I'm thinking that in the Browns building, the Dawg Pound Podcast has not been played once. Wouldn't that be funny?
What would give you that impression?
Wouldn't it be funny if we found out that, we get 110 listens a week and 53 of them were everybody on the team?
They're playing it in the weight room while they're working
Exactly. Famous
screw the Tomahawk Show. We need to listen to Dawg Pound Podcast.
See Amos writing something on a board on next year's Hard Knocks, and he goes, "God damn it, I'm not that bad."
Yeah, for whatever team he's coaching, which is not going to be on the Browns staff.
For the Falcons or wherever he's coaching. And by Falcons, I mean the Western County High School Falcons.
Exactly. Well, we are getting some likes on Twitter because I tried to there's a Twitter account, Browns Therapy, and the guy's pretty funny, and I had to hit him up personally because he had a really hilarious shake and bake gif of Jarvis Landry and Baker Mayfield that I wanted, and so he ended up following the show. Well, I went to respond to something, and I thought I was doing it under my personal page, but I did it under the Dawg Pound Podcast.
All right.
And all of a sudden, all these likes and responses are coming in. It was a half hour, just all these notifications. What the hell happened? And then I looked, I was like, oh my God, I did that on the show page. Nice. And all these follows are starting to happen. I was like, sweet.
Yeah,
Look at me go.
By 2025, we're going to reach 100.
I know. We've got Nerf Herder Council syndrome.
Yeah, I'm not used to this, dude. I mean, CMS, I've got 20,000 followers on Spreaker and 5,000 on YouTube, and I think 7,000 or 8,000 on Facebook or whatever. And then there's this one with 30.
Well, it is a very specialized podcast, and as we get it rolling, if more people hear it, especially around the Cleveland area, you never know. So we will, hopefully it builds, and if not, who cares? It's me and you bullshitting about the Browns. That's what we wanted to do in the first place. So
exactly.
Mission accomplished.
And if nothing else, with that hour before the show or after the show, on whichever side, gives us that hour that you're not necessarily allowed to have away from your wife. So, so we can use that too.
Right. Thankfully, that is actually not a problem. As you well know, she's fine. Go ahead. Yeah. She expects it at this point. I got to go podcast. She expects about a half hour on either end of it.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
so.
She likes me, so.
Yes, loves you. To be honest.
So that helps. If I was one of your friends that she hated, she'd be yelling up halfway through the thing, "Are you done yet?"
Yeah, when is this over? So yeah. Anyway, this is the 14th episode, and as we said, 4 out of the last 5 games have been Browns victories. This time, they went to Mile High Stadium in Denver, a place that I absolutely hate and wish napalm would fall all over.
Nice.
And they defeated John Elway's hated Broncos.
Yeah.
And as a kid who was scarred by the drive and the fumble in the 1989 championship game loss, I loved every second of it. And some people are saying it was an ugly win, but I don't know about you, but I really, throughout the game, even though it was close all the way, I never had a sense like it was slipping away or would slip away. I just felt like the Browns were going to win and that they were always right there with it. I didn't have those usual nerves of, oh, this game's too close. How did you feel? Well,
the ugliest thing I saw was John Elway's picture painted on all the Broncos helmets, but that aside, I did not feel that way at all. And admitted, now, and let me give a little bit of background. I was watching the game while I was doing my other show. So I had an iPad set up that I was watching the game on. And then I had my show that, has like all kinds of X-rated stuff going on in the chat room and whatnot. So I'm torn between gifs of things I shouldn't be seeing and the Browns game. So to be fair, I was not paying full attention to the game. I have since watched the game though. During the game, I didn't feel at any time like we were screwed, except for when they went for it on fourth down in the fourth quarter and didn't get it. When Chubb lost that yard on fourth down and they gave Denver the ball back with what was it,
like
a minute and
50.
a half or something left. Yeah. And when that happened, I can't lie, I had the old Cleveland feeling in me. I really was like, oh boy, here we go. Watch, here it comes. Case Keenum, the new John Elway, 80 yards in a minute, but thankfully, and to be honest, it started to look like that. They moved right down the field, but then they stalled, thank God. But other than that, no, I mean, it was a tough game. It was, if it was anything, to me, it was a balanced game. It really kind of showed us, to me, it showed us where we stand as a team. I think that Denver is I think we're a better team than Denver, but I don't think we're a lot better team than Denver. And I think the score was pretty indicative of our standing in the NFL versus like where the other teams in the NFL are. I thought it really showcased some things that we need to work on. It showcased some things that we're good at, but I think it was really indicative of where we stand in the NFL right now.
Yeah, I could agree with that. I did not have that typical Cleveland feeling when they got the ball back with just under 2 minutes to go. Part of that could have been the fact that I was imbibing.
Yeah, because I can imagine every F-bomb coming out of your mouth when Chubb did not get that first down. And I can imagine
not a single one.
You are such a liar. Get out of here.
There was nope. There was I was at my buddy's place and his 4-year-old was downstairs with us, and so was my brother's girlfriend's 12-year-old. So I was very loud. Yeah. Believe me, I'm a fat Italian. I am loud.
So what were you doing? Flipping, farn, flicking, flack.
Oh yeah, it was always like pissing, pine cones, popcorn popping, mother slugging, bass fisherman.
Stupid Chubb, stupid Chubb.
Yep, it was very loud, so it was quite clear what I was doing. But
yeah,
I don't know. That game was weird for me. Like I just never had that feeling like it was out of reach, and I kind of took away from it. Like I had said in last week's show, I kind of viewed this as like the Houston game.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Denver's not as good, but the defensive similarities, at least along the front, they were similar. And so I wanted to see how the team would respond to a pass rush like that, based on what had happened in Houston when you had those, Clowney and Merciless and Watt.
Right.
And, I thought that they weren't as bad. I mean, Baker obviously had that, he came out like a house on fire and, had that lull for most of the second and third quarter, but he never really went in the tank like he did that first half against Houston.
Right.
And so I thought that was a step forward. I was kind of pleasantly surprised because I had like a very specific idea of how I thought the game should start in order to calm any nerves the Browns might have had. I was talking to some buddies during the week, and I said, I really think the Browns need to come out and get a definitive defensive stop right off the bat,
right,
and get a definitive touchdown drive right off the bat so that you have momentum on both sides of the ball and a 7-point lead on the road in a hostile environment. And I think that'll set the tone. And that's exactly what happened. And so I think the rest of the game, they basically knew, okay, well, we got this, because we've done it before in this game. So we don't have to worry if, the wheels kind of fall off a little bit or start wobbling or whatever,
Right.
So that was cool. But I mean, just the fact that they won another game on the road, it was basically a playoff environment because Denver was playing for their lives.
Right.
We were playing for our lives, and it was great to see them get over that hurdle. So it was yet another, roadblock, overcome for this team, which is just another feather in their cap.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, overall, the offense was played okay. Defense played pretty darn good, especially in the second half.
Yes.
I mean, the defense they didn't give up what they give up in the second half? 2 field goals.
Yeah, well, the only touchdown that Denver scored was in the first quarter.
Yeah. So the defense played well the whole game, but they really tightened up in the second half. The defensive scheming was really good in the second half. I mean, some of those blitzes, including the one to end the game with Peppers coming up the middle. I mean, who would have thought that last year when Peppers was playing 45 yards from the line of scrimmage that he'd be getting any sacks?
Yeah. Well, I mean, but they even said, like, this is exactly what he's supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
So now that he's where he's effective, I mean, you can see the difference in, what he's doing this year as opposed to last year.
Yeah. It still leads to the question, why were they doing that last year?
They couldn't, Williams actually kind of said it in an interview in the offseason that basically he couldn't trust the cornerbacks to not give up the deep ball. So they were basically trying to, eliminate that home run play. So they might get like a 30-40 yard chunk play, but they're not getting the 70 yard.
Yeah. Cause that's better. Cause that's a lot better.
Well, hey, if they're not in the end zone, at least something can happen potentially otherwise that won't give them points. But, it makes sense. But that's why they picked Denzel Ward, because, they couldn't cover worth a damn.
Yeah.
So,
and that's last year anyway. Who cares about that? That team doesn't even exist anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. No, the defense did play great. And like you said, the scheming was very good. And, Phillip Lindsay was leading the NFL with a 5.8 yards per carry average, and he had 24 yards on the ground.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
They shut him down nicely. Case Keenum is a bum. Can we both agree on that? That Case Keenum is a journeyman that got a lot of money.
Yeah, and can we take it one step further? He wasn't very good the several years before last year with Minnesota.
No. Caught
lightning in a bottle, made his money. Now he's going back to what he was. And everyone acts all surprised, like, oh, this is. But I'm glad, not for him, because I watched that All or Nothing show with him on it. And he's a really nice guy, so not against him personally, but when the Broncos signed him, when John Elway hitched his horse to him, I was like, nice, because this guy is not all that. And anytime John Elway gets screwed, it's just I love watching that. So I was like, you dummy.
Isn't it amazing that for as heralded as John Elway is as the quarterback of all quarterbacks, one of the best of all time or whatever, this guy is an absolute bust at picking them. I mean, Tebow, Osweiler,
mm-hmm.
and now Keenum. Those are his picks since he's taken over, aren't they?
Yeah.
And Peyton Manning, but come on. It's not like
that was a free
Peyton.
agent. That
Yeah.
wasn't like going in the draft and getting somebody,
Yeah.
but
Anybody that he's drafted has been a bust. He really cannot pick a quarterback.
Well, just because you can do it on the field doesn't mean that you can do it off the field. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
and he's proof of it. Thank
Mhm.
goodness.
Yeah.
Because, Lord knows he's caused me enough pain in my lifetime. But,
yeah. Who do you hate worse, John Elway or Art Modell?
Oh my God, that's so neck and neck. Art Modell, and the reason being that Elway may have hurt the Browns and kept us from the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But Art Modell took the entire team, and on top of that, the pieces were in place that in 96 when the Ravens drafted Ray Lewis and Jonathan Ogden in the first round, that would have been in Cleveland.
Yep.
So that Ravens team that won the Super Bowl in 2000, that would have been here in Cleveland because the front office was the same, all the personnel was the same. That was the Browns. So basically, not only did Art Modell take our team away, but that whole drought of 52 years would have never existed because it would have ended in 2000.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you. My opinion is exactly the same. Art Modell by a lot, not even by a little, by a lot. Because John Elway just did what he was supposed to do. He got lucky. He had a 98-yard drive, blah, 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 blah. Luck, the drive, the fumble, blah, blah, blah. We get it. But that being said, he just did his job. Art Modell did not do his job, which is why he had to move the team, because he was a piece of garbage. So, fuck Art. I hope his corpse is rotting as much as his soul.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, for me, my first 4 seasons of being a Browns fan were, the first full season was the drive. So, my first 4 years was the drive, then the fumble, then there was the 8-8 year, and then there was, the third loss in the championship game. So the face of Browns failure and heartbreak to me is always that of John Elway. So
well, and ESPN hasn't helped that either, because every time they show anything bad about Cleveland, that clip is shown. The stupid John Elway, with the 98-yard touchdown. Yep. They show him celebrating with those big giant teeth that make any dentist scared to put him on that pamphlet.
Right.
Do you think any dentists in Denver actually say, "Hey, I'm John Elway's dentist"? Do you think whoever it is actually brags about that or not?
Yeah, because they have a billboard on his teeth.
They probably could.
So speaking of quarterbacks, back to a more serious topic. You gotta think that Baker Mayfield probably learned another lesson this week, because when he went into that, kind of crap phase in the middle of the game, the middle portion or whatever it was, he really was getting a little bit greedy. And it's funny because you would think that he'd learned about the checkdowns and not trying to bite off too much, but apparently he was really gunning for it after that first drive. And it was interesting because I went and looked back at the stats, because I thought when people said second and third quarter he was terrible, this, that, and the other. I mean, he had about a 50% completion percentage or less in the first half, but then in the second half he only had, I think, either 1 or 2 incompletions. So yet again, he just stepped up after making a number of mistakes. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's every week. It's just, you don't expect somebody to learn as quickly as he does. His mind is pretty impressive.
He's definitely a pro of that was the last play, no matter what it is, good or bad. He scores a touchdown, he's still out there hungry the next drive. And same with, he throws a pick or takes a bad sack or whatever, and he's right back. He's right back like it didn't happen. He's got such a great, I don't know,
resiliency,
more like a mental position. He really does not hold anything, which is great. And I mean, is he going to at some point? Sure, of course. There's going to be games where he's going to throw a pick. He's going to be like, God damn it, and he's going to throw another one because because that's what quarterbacks do sometimes. But his composure is off the charts compared to anything that we have seen on the laundry list of quarterbacks that we've had the last 20 years.
Yeah, his short-term memory is unbelievable in football terms. Mm-hmm. Like you said, like he throws a pick, it's like next play is like the previous one didn't happen. But it's that's what I was saying about getting greedy with trying to get chunk plays instead of checking down for a while in the Denver game. That is something he'll learn from too. Like, just because you just nailed a 45-yarder, that doesn't mean you have to start gunning for that the whole time. Like,
right.
Just go back to the game plan and take what's there.
Right. And you know what was a great example of that in this game, in the game against Denver? He had the big touchdown, the one to what's his name? Perriman,
yeah.
And then I think it was in the next quarter, he had a play where he had it was like the longest I could ever remember any quarterback having time to throw. And he couldn't find anybody to throw to, and he kept winding up like he was going to gun it, and then he threw it across the middle for 12 yards to Njoku.
Yep.
And I was like, you know what? That's a discipline that I thought it right then. I was like, that's a discipline that we have not seen on this team in eons, probably since Bernie. Bernie was probably the last one that would look, and at the last second would check down to somebody instead of just going for the home run. And it's different with Baker because unlike Bernie, Baker has that home run arm and accuracy. Bernie was always Bernie did not have the home run arm. And
oh, yes, he did?
No, he didn't. He was great. I'm not saying he was bad.
Speaking of short-term memory.
Short-term, it was 25 years ago, dude. It's not short-term anymore. That would be long-term memory. Bernie did not have a cannon. He had a good arm, but he didn't have a cannon of an arm. And
all right. If you're talking about guys like Elway,
yeah,
I'll give you that. Definitely the accuracy.
Yeah, he had the accuracy, but he didn't have the cannon. And Baker has both, and still is smart enough to not just try to. He's made some great passes that have thread the needle in the last 2 weeks. The 2 touchdowns in particular, one 2 weeks ago and one this week. We're totally our guys catching it or no guys catching it, and at the same time, when it comes time to check down instead of forcing something, he's not big on forcing. He has a couple of the picks that he's had throughout the year, not just the last week or last game. There's been very few of them that have been thrown into double or triple coverage and somebody just stepped in front of it. Very, very few.
Yeah, he really hasn't forced anything since that Houston game.
Yeah. Yeah, but even before that, he really is not. That's just not his game. He's not. He's almost the common. And I hate to go on this Baker parade again, but he's the combination of a game manager and a highly skilled quarterback. He can manage a game. What in the one drive they had, what was it, 10 minutes in the third quarter, was it?
It was 9 something.
Yeah, it was like a long drive. So he can obviously manage a drive and manage a game, but at the same time, when needed, he can flip into that, minute and a half offense and drive you right down the field too. He is a unique combination of a lot of things.
He's just really intelligent, and it's just nice to see all the things that, Dorsey was saying about him, after we drafted him and people looking back at the film from Oklahoma, and they say, you have this mental toughness, guys follow you, you're this leader, and you're so accurate. It's nice to see that that actually wasn't bullcrap. It's all, we're seeing it right in front of our eyes. And he's just progressing so much faster than you would expect. Yeah. And it's so much fun to watch. And, as much as I get accused of being a Baker honk, it's I think I've said it before. It's hard not to be a fan of his. First of all, we've had nothing but crap for 20 years at quarterback.
Sure.
Minus, Derek Anderson had half a good season, and Tim Couch was reasonable when he wasn't getting knocked on his ass. But, this is like legitimate, like great quarterback play, like we haven't seen. It's just stuff that you see on highlights on SportsCenter all these years, and it's not our guy.
Right.
Well, now it's our guy.
Yeah.
And
dude, you're definitely not alone. Everybody in the national media, except for stupid Shannon Sharp, is saying great things about Baker. Even that dope Colin Cowherd is talking like positively about Baker now. The only one that's still talking negatively is stupid Shannon Sharp. So, whatever. Everybody else sees it.
Dude, the numbers speak for themselves. And there's only 2 numbers you need to know: 4 and 2. Baker, when he's put in an offense where, they're already letting him audible. Which when the hell have you heard of a rookie quarterback being allowed to audible?
Right.
But when he's put in an offense that utilizes his skill set and that he can run on his own, he's successful. And he's winning. He's 4 and 2 since the coaching change. Since Todd Haley was trying to ram his offense down Baker's throat instead of just letting Baker do what he does, he's winning games.
Yeah.
To throw every other stat out the window, the Browns have the 8th best record in the NFL since since the coaches were fired.
Right.
I mean, so there you go.
Yeah, he's played well. But then the whole offense is playing well as a result. My man Chubb again looked really impressive.
Yeah, I texted you that stat today.
Yeah.
I would have never guessed this, that since week 7, he's the leading rusher in the NFL.
Dude, he breaks a lot of big plays. He breaks 15, 20, 30-yard runs pretty much every game.
And it's like when they said he had 100 yards rushing the other night, I said, no, he didn't.
Yeah, but
somebody's got to have a typo, but no, he had 100 yards. I mean, granted, he had that 40-yarder at the end of the game, but it still didn't feel like, I mean, he was gaining that much of anything.
No.
And yet it adds up. I mean, he needs 80 yards to break the team rookie rushing record that Trent Richardson set at 950 yards.
And,
I mean, it's like, and he was non-existent for what, the first 4 games, 5, 6 games of the season or something.
Mm-hmm.
So he's done all this in 2/3 of a season. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah. And meanwhile, by contrast, Hugh's guy, Carlos Hyde, was a healthy scratch this week in Jacksonville.
Yeah, that's just it's crazy, man. I mean, it's and like I say, I mean, it's another sign of growth for this team that they played well, but not great on the road, and they still pulled out a win. I mean, Denver's not a great team, but it's not like they're Atlanta, with this god awful defense that you can just shred. I mean, it's not like Cincinnati, who thank God we have them this week because that'll be fun. They have a legitimate defense. Their secondary was really banged up, so we got lucky there. But they have a beastly pass rush, and we went into that environment against a top flight couple of defenders and got the win.
Yeah, and on the other side of the ball too, the defense played I thought they played exceptionally well. I watched the game Monday. I finally got to sit down and really watch the game. And even on some of the plays that Denver had positive yardage or momentum on, including the touchdown that Keenum scored, the defense looked exceptional, even though they didn't. Even on that touchdown, Keenum scored that touchdown by about an inch from, I think it was Myles Garrett swiping at his foot and just missing because dude's foot raised at the time of the swipe. Otherwise, he would have been sacked. The defense has been playing solid. The line looks great. The corners looked considering that Denzel Ward was not out there. The corners looked really good for the most of the game. They shut down what's the running back's name?
Philip Lindsay.
They shut him to nothing. I thought the defense really stepped up for the bulk of the game.
Yeah. That leads me to a question that I wanted to ask you because I saw this on Twitter today and there were people arguing about it.
Okay.
And it's kind of parallel to something that we discussed a couple shows ago. So I'm interested in your opinion on this.
All right.
Would you trade up in the draft next year? You would have to go up to either 1 or 2, probably 2 it's looking like, and give up a bunch of draft capital to get Nick Bosa to pair him with Myles Garrett.
Yeah. Don't even have to think about
it. Seeing what this Chicago defense is doing with Kalil Mack, I think I've come around to if you have Garrett and Bosa and you just let the rest of the defense like have another year with the Greg Williams system, I think that might be something I would want to do. Especially if you can fill other holes in free agency. I mean,
I don't think that I would trade as much as I would have traded for Kalil Mack, but I would give up like a 1 and a 2. Why not?
Well, unfortunately for moving up, I mean, at this point, we're like literally in the middle of the draft, like 15th or 16th, I think. It would take 2 number 1s and a bunch of other stuff.
But I would give up 2 mid-round number 1s. Sure.
See, and that's the thing. That's like when we were talking about the Odell Beckham trade, that's kind of the logic is like you're giving up the 15th pick this year, and then let's say you give up your first round pick next year. I mean, let's say you are a playoff team, which is the way it's looking and the way you're going to be picked. Let's say you do go to the playoffs. you're going to be picking in, around the 20s, and if you make a run like late 20s.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, you're really only giving up a pick in the late 20s next year.
Yeah.
And some lower round stuff to go get like one of the most beastly pass rushers to come out in the last 15 years, and pair him with Myles Garrett, one of the most beastly pass rushers to come out in the last 15 years. I mean, it's like, holy crap.
I would always do it for defense. I wouldn't do it for Odell Beckham, though. The proof is in the pudding with Odell Beckham. What are the Giants, 5-8? And they improved their team dramatically with Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley is like all-world player. He's going to lead the NFL. He's going to be 1 or 2 in the NFL in yards gained this year. He's all-world, and they've had Beckham all year, and they've got 5 wins. So offensive players do not generally, other than a quarterback, do not translate into wins. Defensive players absolutely turn a team around.
I think I'm coming around to your line of thinking on that, because when you said it initially and we argued about Odell Beckham, I was like, no man, like that makes sense, but the more I'm seeing the trends in the league right now, I kind of agree, because while the league is going towards more offensive type of things, like outlooks and coaches and all this other stuff, I mean, you see what the Bears defense is doing.
Yeah.
And
Houston.
Oh yeah. I mean, those two teams would not surprise me if they were in the Super Bowl, just because of the fact they can actually play defense. I mean, Chicago, shut down the Rams, and they shut down all these teams with these high-powered offenses, and it's, then you get teams like the Rams who have a pretty good, okay defense, and the Chiefs with a crap defense. You get those two teams playing each other, and it was like 52-49 or something. Yeah. I mean, it was. But the Bears, when they beat the Rams, it was like 17-10 or something like that. They completely shut that offense down. So
look, and you don't even have to look at the great teams. You can look at the bad teams too that have solid defensive players. Look at, even though they lost the game this week, look at Jacksonville. Jacksonville almost beat the Saints. What was that score? 12-9?
Yep, it was a field goal fest. It sounded like
12-9. Drew Brees put up 12 points.
Oh no, that was Carolina. Carolina played the Saints.
Carolina, but they have a decent defense too. Decent defense and a bad offense. Because Cam's hurt. Now done.
Yep, now done.
But I mean, same thing. Carolina has a above average defense, and what did they do to an elite scoring team? They shut it right down. Defense is going to win you the big games in the NFL. I honestly believe that. I mean, you gotta be able to put points on the board, but you better be able to stop, to make stops. Think about all the teams that have super offensive teams. They've been beaten this year by defensive teams.
Yep. Very true.
Kansas City, Rams, Patriots, although they don't have the huge offensive team that they have, but they've been beaten several times this year by decent defensive teams. The Steelers have whether we like them or hate them, they have a pretty powerful offense, and they've been beaten 6 times, 5-6 times.
Yeah.
Offense is not. They're making it easier for offensive guys to make catches and stuff, but they are, for whatever reason, the defense, when you put a strong defense against a strong offense, the defense is still winning the games.
Yeah, that's why, when people are, doing the for and against with the trading up for Bosa thing, I picture, when you had said, imagine Kalil Mack opposite Myles Garrett, and I'm just like, Bosa is not going to be a Kalil Mack unless some miracle happens, but he'll be damn close. I mean, look at that's like it's like they say he's like Joey Bosa, only better. And look at the numbers Joey Bosa puts up when he's not injured. I mean,
dude,
could you imagine that? I mean, and that's the thing. Like it would almost be like putting Myles Garrett on the Bears and Myles Garrett and Baker Mayfield on the Bears. Just imagine that. The Bears' defense is better than ours in the back end a little bit.
Yeah.
But, I mean, just picture that. I mean, it's like, holy crap.
Here, I'm going to paint you a picture you're not going to like. Think about if they would have made the move when I was talking about it, when the whole goddamn world was talking about it in week 1 and 2, when Chucky was looking to dump Kalil Mack. You would have given up a mid-round first-rounder next year and a mid to late rounder the next year for Kalil Mack.
Yep.
That would have been solid.
I think those are hard moves to make at the time, though, because you're thinking that there's still a risk of you giving up 2 very high picks. So I think that's kind of what makes you gun shy. I mean, in the draft, if we were to do this, let's say we do this next year and we trade our 2019 and 2020 first rounder and then, a pair of thirds and a fourth or something like that. I mean, at least then okay, well, we're giving up the 18th, 19th pick this year, and then if the chips fall the way we think it is, we're going to be giving up the 25th pick next year. So it's not like you say, okay, well, we gave up 6 this year and 5 next year. I mean, the players you get at that level of the draft are very different from 18 and 25.
This is where I disagree with you by 1,000,000%.
Okay.
When you have a team that is 0-16 and nothing has worked, I would go all Mike Ditka and trade the whole draft for the guy, just to have the guy, just because I believe that anything that I put out there that makes sense would be better than what we have. And
yeah, but then you're missing out on so many other things.
Maybe
at 0-16, you have so many holes.
Yeah,
you can't give that much up for one guy.
I would have, because if Dorsey truly believed that he was close, and I wouldn't give up the whole draft. I'm just using that as the most crazy analogy I can make. But if he would have given up 2 number ones and he believed in his system, which he's a confident soul. If he's nothing else, he's very confident in himself. If he truly believed it, he could have pulled that trigger and probably got that deal done. It might, if it cost the Bears 2 number ones, maybe it would have cost us 2 number ones and a 2. But we have how many draft picks stocked up now?
Well, and think about it, when they made that pick, I think everybody in the NFL would have said, okay, whose pick is going to be higher? The Browns or the Raiders? Everyone would have said the Browns.
Yeah.
Because no one was buying anything. That people were saying, okay, well, this might be a 5 or 6 win team.
Yeah.
And
so it might have cost us less.
Yeah.
It might have cost us less than 2 number ones.
Let's say it was exactly the same. We would have had preference in a trade like that because they would have been thinking they were getting a higher, a higher pick than they would have gotten from Oakland.
They would have thought that they were getting, the 1 or the 2. I did. I thought that was the way it was going to be this year. I thought we'd be number 1 or 2 in the draft again. And
God, it's so beautiful that's not the case. I'm reading mock drafts not because I'm looking them up finally. It's just they pop up once or twice a week on CBS Sports.
Sure.
And I'm finally down in positions where I'm like, who the hell is this guy? I haven't read this name before. It's like, instead of years before where the first 6 guys I know exactly who they are because we picked second and the furthest we'll trade down is 6, so I need to know the top 6 players.
And because all college season long you saw their highlights and every single Saturday on ESPN because they were like the elite of the elite.
Exactly. Yep.
Now you're like, all right, this guy's a quarterback from where? UCF. Where's that?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's just, dude, I can't get over how much fun this season has been. And it's it really sucks that Sunday, literally everything went against us. Mm-hmm. So, we're not going to make the playoffs unless the craziest miracle in NFL, playoff history happens. But it's just amazing that we've had all this stuff to talk about, and and there's still stuff to play for. I mean, you could sweep Cincinnati in the season series, which hasn't happened since God knows when. You'll have a winning. You'll cement a winning record in the division, which I think might be the first time that's happened.
Yeah.
Since the Browns came back, you'll have a winning record at home. It's just there's still things to play for.
Dude, we're in week 16, and in week 16, we still have a chance for a winning record overall. The team that was 0-16. That's a major turnaround. If they don't win, if they lose to Cincy and they lose, who's the last game? Ravens?
Baltimore.
Yeah, if they lose those 2 games, this has been a great season. I don't want them to lose those 2. I don't think they're going to lose those 2. But if they did, it's still been a great season. Just because it's been – it hasn't been a step forward. It has been a car ride forward. I mean, it has been a journey forward, a long journey forward. Yeah. Now we need to take the next step. Now we're actually to the point where the next step is a playoff berth. How crazy is that?
I just – it's funny you mention that because Doug Maurice wrote an article this week detailing, like a very detailed article explaining why the Browns are going 12-4 next year.
Wow.
And and he brings up, he goes through the list of opponents, and it's really, things change in the league. You never know, but if the teams that we're playing basically stay, maybe make a little jump forward or some of them make a little jump back. His logic was really pretty sound. And I just started thinking about it going, the last time the Browns were 12-4 was the very first year I was a fan. And that was like, you're winning almost all of the time.
Yeah.
And he brought up a point that I actually made on the show, which I'm glad somebody else did, because I haven't really seen this mentioned, that, when I said that, we were talking about if Greg Williams and Freddie Kitchens should stay on, I had said that, if they win out, Greg Williams will have gone 6-2, which if you extrapolate that over the course of an entire season, he's 12-4. Mm-hmm. And he mentioned that, Doug Maurice mentioned that. And I was like, I'm so glad somebody else brought that up, because when you're talking about this coaching search, I think you almost have to take that into consideration, because I just don't know how you don't keep Greg Williams or Freddie Kitchens or both if they do that. And and there's those rumors now that they're starting to come out that basically Freddie Kitchens is guaranteed next year, like as the OC, like basically Dorsey's whoever's the coach is like, hey, he's your offensive coordinator, because Baker and him are just like totally like 100% in sync.
Right.
But to have them 12-4 next year, and to think about the playoffs, and to think about hosting a playoff game potentially too. It's just, that's a world that I want to live in, man. And I read the article, and again, it's that rational Browns fan in me and that homer in me that always do battle. And the rational one in me says, okay, this is on paper. Let's not go crazy. You're going to be, at most an 8-win team this year. No. Saying you're going to go 12-4 is a huge step. Like, let's just calm down. But then the homer in me is just screaming, but what if we host the AFC Championship game next year and I get to go? And then what if they do go to the Super Bowl and I'm in the Dawg Pound when they win at home? Oh my God. It's, just chalk it up to another one of those things where it's like, after years of getting shit on, I just want to dream, and it's so much fun. It's like, it's far-fetched, but you can see it actually happening. It's not a pipe dream.
Have you not been to a Browns playoff game?
No, I've been. I was actually at the last one, the last home game in January of '95 when they beat the Patriots. I was there.
Yeah, but you were about 12?
I was a month shy of my 19th birthday.
Look at that. So you had fun. Yeah, I've been, but it's been a very long time. It was, I don't remember what year it was. It was the Colts. It was, and I was in the second row of the Dawg Pound, and Eric Dickerson scored a touchdown, and we showered him with dog food.
Oh, wasn't that the year of the fumble?
Might have been. I don't remember. Yeah, because that was a long time ago.
Yeah, that was. I think that was because Biner had like a fumble in that game too.
Yeah,
and he had fumble problems that year.
Yeah,
they were like, "Oh, this could be bad for next week." Everyone's like, "Oh no, it'll be fine," and then it wasn't fine.
No, it wasn't fine, but it was fun to be there for that. To be at a winning playoff game, that's for sure.
Yeah, that environment was
ridiculous.
Just, unbelievable. But yeah, it's insane that we're at this point. Like all the things that are still, able to be achieved this year, and then to know going into next season, like, it's going to be the longest off season we can ever remember.
Yeah.
And my only fear, like you and I always say, that typical Cleveland in us, my brain's going, but what if this was like, how the Jaguars were 12-4 last year? Now they suck. Like, what if this is all a fluke, and then we end up going back to sucking.
Well, you know what though, dude? We've had 20 years to be conditioned for shit, so it's gonna take a while to get out of that conditioning. It just is, and I know I've said this to you, away from the podcast before. I might have even said it on, but when I spent those 2 years living up in Pittsburgh, and I was driving back and forth and listening to sports talk in Pittsburgh, I heard that different mentality. I heard those fans up there, while they are all scumbags, I heard their complete unwillingness to accept failure on any level. And we have been beaten so badly for 20 years, 25 years really, or 24 if you really want to count, because they left in 94, 95, beginning of 95?
Yeah, after the 95 season.
Yeah, so 23 years. We have had nothing but terrible for all of those years, for a quarter century basically. We as fans don't know how to win yet. Just like the team has to learn how to win, we have to learn how to win. We're so used to it's 30-7 Browns with 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter. How can they fuck it up? That's our mentality right now. That's still our mentality. We're slowly eking out of it, but we're still there, man. It's going to take years of success to break the decades of failure.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And, again, that's why I think things like Saturday night's game was a step forward, because in the past, that's the kind of game that they lose.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's the kind of game that I sit there and go, all right, what's going to happen? And they, instead of finding a way to lose, they found a way to win. And it's, there's just so many signs that the future is so unbelievably bright. And it's beautiful when you turn on the television, like you're going to see something about the Browns and Baker Mayfield, on a national stage all the time. And it's just awesome to see our team being featured. And literally no one going, oh, this is a fluke. Like, no, everyone's basically going, yeah, people are going to be in trouble playing the Browns next year.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and it's just unbelievable.
Just think, dude, after New Year's, we've only got 8 months before they start training camp.
Dude, like I said, this is going to be the longest off season ever.
8 months. We're going to be like, okay, day number 136, day number 137, only 78 more to go.
What we're going to be doing is waiting with bated breath for reports on the OTAs, praying that like somebody major doesn't get injured.
Yeah, or arrested.
We're gonna have all this hope and be like, come on, let's not let anybody, any of the starters that we absolutely have to have. I'm not even gonna mention names just because I've actually jinxed a player before. Like, please don't let anybody we really, really need, blow out a leg or something. I did that when we signed LaCharles Bentley. I don't know if you remember him. Dude, I could tell you exactly where I was in the car, on what road, where I was going, when I was listening to the radio, and they said, oh, the Browns signed LaCharles Bentley. He's like the best offensive lineman in the class. He's huge. He's a Pro Bowler. He's going to be awesome. And I was laughing, and I said, knowing our luck, like, first training camp, he's going to blow out his knee. Literally, I'm sitting at work the day of the first training camp that year, and I get this email from one of my coworkers. He said, "You hear about LaCharles Bentley?" I said, "No, what?" He said, "First play of training camp, he got rolled up on and blew his leg out." And I was like, "Damn it, that's my fault!" So I never mention names anymore. Right. If I think something like, ooh, this could be bad, I don't say a name. I refuse to put a name to it because I figure that's like the last thing I should be doing.
No, I just hope that none of them get arrested. They, keep Antonio Callaway in the building for the entire time so that he can't go and screw up. All he's allowed to do is work out, at the Browns camp. No arrests, no injuries. No dopey out there playing backyard basketball, just training and getting ready to be a champion. That's what we need from this team in the offseason. But
yep,
that is then, man. We still got 2 weeks left to go, man. So, and this is a biggie. This week is a big one, don't you think?
Oh, well, for sure. I mean, it's really big for me because Unfortunately, I don't understand the scoring system very well in the ESPN Fantasy Football League, because if I did, I'd be able to throw a bigger fit, because I should be in the championship game in that league. I was leading going into Monday night, and I had Drew Brees. The other guy had Alvin Kamara. I said, okay, I got this, and I didn't. And wouldn't you know, had I started Baker Mayfield again, instead of Drew Brees this time, I would have won.
False fan.
So in my other league, the one that actually pays for more positions than first place, I am in the championship game. So I survived a close one. And this is a big week for the Browns, and it's a big week for me because I'm already in the money. I'm at least placing second place in my other league, so I'm going to win a couple $100. So I am going to put my money where my mouth is, and I am starting Baker.
Nice.
To try and win first place.
You don't want to. You're not going to reach out there and pick up Dreesen or whatever his name is,
Driscoll. Yeah. Well, I mean, dude, here's the thing. Like, I have Jared Goff going against Arizona, or Baker against the Bungles.
Oof.
And Baker had his best game of the year against Cincinnati, and Goff has literally been the worst quarterback in the NFL for the last 4 weeks.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm thinking, you know what? In Baker we trust. Screw it. I already got money, and if I lose because I made a dumb decision, I've already placed second after I had a losing record. So I've way exceeded, expectations. So why don't I just put my money where my mouth is, and bet on Baker. So I'm going to do that.
Isn't Todd Gurley hurt too?
He's still playing though.
Yeah, but if he's hurt and he's not getting the yards that he normally gets, then Goff has to throw more, which means more picks.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. So I have Nick Chubb too. So I'm, I am double rooting for the Browns to absolutely annihilate the Bengals this
All
week.
Browns line up in your fantasy team?
Oh, dude. Yeah, I did. I picked up Nick Chubb. As soon as they traded Hyde, I actually picked him up as a free agent. I was like, something tells me that they're going to run the hell out of this guy. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gotten rid of Hyde. And sure enough, so it's actually been a solid pickup.
Sure.
So yeah, so it'll be fun for me because that both of my leagues I'll have Baker and Chubb, so that'll be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
But so I'm thinking it is a big week, and I think the Browns are going to have a really big week. I mean, the Bengals are coming in pissed off after what we did to them in Cincy and the whole handing Hugh Jackson the ball after the interception thing. But the Browns want to end the home schedule with a win, a big win against a division opponent. They want to give Cleveland fans something to crap on Hugh Jackson with. And that's their motivation. They're like,
right.
We know you guys hate Hugh too, so let's give you something to really dump on his head.
Sure.
So I think the Browns are going to come out like a house on fire and just lay waste to the Bengals this week. And in doing so, I hopefully will win my fantasy league. And I will also, even if they only win by a point, I will win 2 bottles of booze because my dumb Bengal friends will lose their bets. And that will be a beautiful thing because I bet before the season started that the Browns would sweep the Bengals.
Look at that.
With each of them. So I'm already halfway there.
There you go.
I got a lot on the line this week, man. Free booze and several $100s.
Nice.
So go Baker and go Nick Chubb. I'm saying Browns big by at least 24 points. I'm going to say Browns 34-10.
I'm going 38-16 Browns. I feel the same way. I feel like they've got something to prove this week especially. And I think that they want to end the home season on a high note. And I definitely think Baker wants to stick it in Hugh's ass one more time. I really do. So,
yep.
So 38-16 Browns.
I like it, man. I like it. I like we've been saying at the beginning of the show, I could really get used to this. And I hope the Browns keep rolling because it's been a fun ride. And I want it to continue because, as you said, we have 8 months without it.
Yeah.
So
what are we going to do?
I sit there and be pissed off that we have to wait.
Yeah,
that's what I'm going to do.
Are we going to sit around and try and do a podcast? Well, let's talk about what they should do at safety in the draft.
Well, we're going to have to do one when they hire a coach.
Yeah, we will do one then, and we'll do one. We'll do an after draft, I would think.
Yeah, you got to do that one. So, I mean, we'll figure something out. Yeah, I mean, there will be something to do.
Maybe we'll talk Cavs. Maybe we could talk Cavs because I'll tell you what, I watched them the other day. I didn't know who was on the floor.
I know the players, but they're making me mad.
I don't know the player. The other day it was Jesus, what's his, I can't, what's his name? Najrambra or something?
David
Nawaba and Delhi, and that was about all I knew, I was like, who are these guys? I was like, I only didn't watch for like 2 weeks, and now there's like a whole new team out there. Thompson's on the bench, JR's gone, Kevin
Love's still hurt. Yeah,
Kevin Love's still hurt.
Well, and they made that trade. They traded a couple guys, and now there's other. I mean, you already weren't sure who the hell these guys were at the beginning of the season. Then they traded a couple players. Now they're bringing guys you really don't know.
Did we get rid of that Russian guy, that Zizic or whatever his name is?
No, Zizic is still with the team.
Yeah, because I was watching the other day, and I didn't see him out there, and I was like, okay,
Yeah, from what I've heard, they don't play him a lot because he can't. He's pretty slow. so they basically with these teams like running and gunning and stuff, he's terrible at that. So
yeah, they have the guy that they brought back after he wasn't very good for Channing Frye.
They brought him back just for like veteran leadership. It wasn't anything really more than that.
Yeah, but he started the other night.
Well, yeah, because they have injuries and guys are out.
I was like, what is he doing starting? He should be like number 11 on the bench.
Yeah, no, I think he plays. I'm always terrible knowing what I know the names and all this stuff, but I'm terrible knowing what positions they play. But I think he plays the same position as Larry Nance Jr. and they prefer bringing Larry Nance Jr. off the bench with the second unit. So I think that's why they did that. Because it was like I think that was the game where he started, but he only had like 11 minutes.
Yeah,
and no points. So it's like they basically want to play Larry Nance more. But they started chanting Frye for some reason.
No, who knows? But anyway, that's a different podcast.
Yeah, I'm just mad they win too many times. It's like you need to get that Zion Williamson guy. Like if you're going to tank, get the guy who's supposed to be like the best guy to come out in the draft in the last 10 years. Like do that. Instead, they got to do stuff like last night. They won on a tip-in. I'm like, damn it. I want to do it Philadelphia to just tank all the time and then get really good for several years.
I will admit that I was wrong, though. What's the kid's name that we drafted first?
Colin Sexton.
I know I texted you and I was like, man, this guy stinks. And even the players are saying that he stinks, after watching him for like the first 2 weeks or whatever. And he's come around. I still hate his shot. I mean, he has an awful looking shot, but it does go in. So I guess that's what matters.
Yeah. Apparently they've literally told him like, we want you driving to the hoop or shooting threes. I mean, that's because his mid-range shot is just bad and it's not there yet.
Yeah.
And apparently he's become a pretty decent 3-point shooter and he's a great slasher to the rim. So they said, if you can't take it to the hole, pass it. And if you get an opportunity to pop a three, then do it. So
it's just weird when he takes it to the hole and shoots. It looks like every other player when they get hit in the face and just throws it up hoping to get the foul.
Yeah.
But it goes in. It's like
a very ungraceful Kyrie Irving. It's like when he would do those moves, it would just look like a thing of beauty. This guy just looks like he's kind of like got his arm across his face and just chucking it brain.
He constantly looks like he's getting hit in the chest as he's getting ready to shoot.
Yeah, he really does.
But he makes it. He's been putting in like 15, 20 points a game the last couple of weeks. So
yeah, he's up there. I just and last thing, and we'll get going because it's not a basketball podcast, but I actually caught part of the game the other night. Yeah. I can't believe how many threes these teams are shooting now. It's like playing Madden football when you don't know what you're doing. Like me, you're just chucking up 40-yard bombs every play. Like what's wrong with these guys? Can't hit like a mid-range jumper anymore. Like what the hell is that?
It's time for the 4-point line, I think.
Oh, dude, I agree.
Just put it out there. It's like 2 steps in from half court. Just put that out there. That'll even the game up because guys like Steph Curry will be out there just taking 4s all night long.
Only LeBron and Curry are the one. They're the only two that can make it.
And Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson's another one that can make 3s all day long, isn't he?
Right. Kyle Korver does it left-handed.
Yeah, but he's old. He'll be retired by then. It'll be some new kid. It'll be Lonzo Ball's kid. He'll just take him and just not let him even near the paint. He'll just have his kids.
Lonzo Ball's kids won't be doing anything.
Come on, they're stars.
Don't even get me started. So thanks for checking out another episode of the Dawg Pound Podcast, everybody. Sorry we rambled a little bit at the beginning and the end, but you get what you get. It's free content, so you got what you paid for.
Yep.
So, but thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Hope you guys are enjoying it. Tell your friends, share, like, all that other good social media crap. Hit us up. And until next time, as always, here we go, Brownies. Here we go. Hoof, hoof.
Thanks for listening to the Dawg Pound Podcast. Be part of the next edition by sending your thoughts to Woof, that's WOOF, at dawgpoundpodcast.com, or by calling us at 216-503-6404. See you next time, and go Browns!
Get it up!